Hey everybody, it's Brian from Progressive Force Concepts with this month's ARFCOM drill. This one is called triple FTF, FTF standing for failure to fire. What we're going to be working on primarily on this drill is failure to fires that occur on the carbine and failure to fires that occur on the handgun. But we've got to see how we remedy those failures to fire at different distances. If a failure to fire occurs on the rifle and we are at a given distance that is beyond the shooter's comfort running the handgun, they're typically going to take and execute the tap, rack, and reassess remediation for that problem, and they're going to get back up on the rifle and they're going to engage. It would be foolish if you had a failure to fire, say, on the rifle at 100 meters to transition to the handgun, unless that was the only option you had left. Inversely, if I am, say, at 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters, 7 meters, wherever the individual shooter's comfort boundary is, and I incur a failure to fire on the rifle, I'm going to transition to the handgun. Now, if we're running the handgun and we have a failure to fire, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to transition from a handgun back to a rifle, and we're going to take and just go straight into the whole failure to fire tap, rack, and reassess model that we have. So how do we set this drill up? What you're going to need for the rifle is you're going to need 6 live carbine rounds, and you're going to need 2 dummy rounds. Ideally, we want to load those in the magazine, loading 1 dummy round first. We'd like to load 4 live rounds on top of that, an additional dummy round, and then 2 live rounds on that. Bring the rifle to a full load. The handgun is going to be loaded wherein we have a live round in the chamber. The first round in the top of the magazine is going to be a dummy round, and then live rounds after that. Shooter will begin, at least in the model we're demonstrating here, at around 20-25 meters. Mount the rifle, and they're going to attempt to fire 4 rounds. When they get 2 rounds into the evolution, they're going to incur that click. They're going to take, execute a tap rack, fix the problem, and then finish with 2 additional rounds. Safe the weapon, bring it to a safe muzzle position, and charge down range into a close quarters environment. At that point, in the demo here, you'll see we're around 5 meters away from the target. They'll remount the rifle, and they're going to attempt to fire 4 rounds again. They're going to get 2 rounds into this process, and then they're going to get a click. They're going to get that failure to fire. Now at this point, they're so close, again, as we already discussed, they're going to take and transition to the handgun. Handgun's going to be presented. They're going to attempt to fire 4 rounds with the handgun. 2 rounds into that process, a 3rd failure to fire is going to occur. Tap, rack, reassess, fire those last 2 rounds, and then we go from there. One of the things you'll notice in this evolution is that if the shooter tries to game it and he tries to maintain a count, a running count in his head of exactly where he is in the magazine, where he is in the process, it's actually going to fail for him. It's not going to work. We've actually tried this where you know exactly how the magazines are loaded, and it's so complex it's very difficult to count rounds. Something else you'll notice in this video. We are not big advocates or fans of the Sling, as many people who've trained with us on the carbine are aware. We do have a demonstration that is done here with the Sling. During the transition process to the handgun, if you are slung, you can release the rifle, run 2 hands on the handgun, and tap and rack. If you are not slung, there are 2 options at your disposal there. First one is to release the rifle, allow the rifle to fall to the ground, and then take and remediate the problem on the handgun using both hands at that point. It's better to take and unass that rifle and get the handgun back up and running than lose the fight while holding onto a club. Second option that you have with the no sling paradigm is to take and utilize a one-handed technique. You can see in the video here we're demonstrating striking the base plate of the magazine against the leg and running the rear sight or some portion of the slide across the belt, the holster, etc. to get that gun back up and in the fight. We encourage you to try all of the above. Make certain that we're exercising good muzzle and trigger finger discipline when we try this. Give these guys a try. We hope you'll enjoy them. Stay safe.